is where MAGA comes to talk, and talk we will be doing. We've got a lot to cover. Welcome, everyone. All right. We will be live in about 12 minutes on the radio. Welcome, one and all. If you're new, my name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. We're going to be live on the air in a few minutes, and I'll be taking your live calls. So you can call me. I'm going to pin the number in the chat in just a moment. Holy smokes, there we go. All right, do a mic check, test 1, 2, test 1, 2. Do a mic check, test 1, 2. Okay, there we go. Always. I have a sneeze coming on, guys. Okay. Welcome. Yep. Now we'll start. I'm going to start, obviously, talking about this god-awful attack brought to us by another Islamic terrorist, right? I mean, we just had the one in D.C., now we've got this one in Colorado. And the liberal media's obsession with branding this guy as fast as they can a white guy, which they were, of course, wrong about that. That was like wishful thinking on their part. Test 1, 2. Oh, people will call. The show has not started yet. People will call. I've already had calls. There's people on hold already. People, I took a call because somebody kept calling over and over. There's already people on hold. But we're not taking calls until after I get started on the air. But if you want to call in, the number is pinned in the live chat. But the show has not started yet. We'll be starting soon. I went to get a tape measure. I am rearranging some things in my studio. Okay, so 70. Okay. Okay, that would work. That would. I'm rearranging some things in the studio, and today, so I'm doing some measuring. Okay. We've got 4 minutes and we'll be live. If you're on hold, hang in there. And if you'd like to call in, the number is pinned in the live chat. Well, when I start my other stream, which I'll start right before the show, if you go to the other stream, you get the green screen effect. This is kind of like a behind the scenes look here. But if you go to the other stream, which I will, it's up there. I just haven't started it live yet. You get the green screen effect. You get to see the articles and things that I show. And here, with this one, you don't get the green screen effect. You get to hear me and the callers, but you won't hear the sound effects. To hear the sound bites, the audio clips of things I play, you got to watch the other stream. But make sure you subscribe. This is where MAGA comes to talk. No doubt about that, I'm here to tell you. Okay. Okay. That's almost time. Just over a minute and we will be live. I'll start the other feed shortly. $40 seconds. Welcome to the program, everyone. My name is Brian Craig. You are listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. That's right, celebrating 48 years on the radio. All right, well, a lot has happened since, yesterday afternoon. We've got a lot going on that we are going to cover. A lot has to be said, and your calls as well at 1-888-465-2631. The first thing I'm going to talk about today is this god-awful terrorist attack, Islamic terrorist attack in Boulder, Colorado. And, you know, this is our second Islamic terror attack in the last 2 weeks, right? Because we had the Israeli embassy staffers that were murdered in D.C. in a barbarian act of terrorism. And now we have this god-awful terrorist attack against Jews, senior citizens in Boulder, Colorado. And I got to tell you, I know a lot of people in Colorado. And, on our MAGA cruises, we have a lot of people. We're very popular in Colorado. And, there's a lot of good conservative people in Colorado. Don't be fooled by these liberal lunatics that run the state of Colorado. But there's a lot of good conservative people out there, and I know they're disgusted by these attacks they were under by the Trinde illegals, and now we have this. And this Islamic terrorist, I'm going to break the whole thing down. He, of course, is not just an Islamic terrorist. He's in the United States illegally. He was brought in here by the Biden regime. His visa has expired, and he's another illegal. This one is one of the worst, and we're going to break it all down and go through the details. It's just, this free Palestine thing. I am very much against, as we've talked about a lot, bombing Iran right now. Things have escalated with Ukraine and Russia since yesterday. We're going to talk about that later on in the program. And I told you, we can't afford another war when we're facing what we're facing. That doesn't mean opposing bombing and starting a war with Iran does not mean we don't support the security of Israel. When I say we, I mean those of us who are opposed to striking Iran. I'm not using we and the royal we with me like some sociopathic narcissist, okay? I'm a strong supporter of Israel, and I'm certainly a strong supporter of people having the ability to get together without the fear of being lit on fire by a terrorist, like happened in Boulder, Colorado yesterday. And, MSNBC, I'm going to play a clip here. MSNBC, they couldn't wait. MSNBC just could not wait to go out there and label this Egyptian Muslim terrorist as a white guy, and they were right out there quick. Chuck Callesto on X recorded this and got this up, and I'm glad he did because I wasn't watching MSNBC, and Chuck Callesto's video that he recorded when he caught this on MSNBC has gone viral and is waking people up. This is MSNBC Live yesterday as this god-awful terrorist attack had just happened. They had arrested the terrorist. Listen to MSNBC. Okay, yeah, he's a white male. They love to run with that. And, this guy, he's Egyptian, he's Muslim, he's a terrorist, he's an anti-Semite. He agrees with the Democrats, this free Palestine thing, by the way. That's right. Right. And did I mention he's an illegal alien and he's not white? We have had a history of the media in this country doing this. There's two in particular, I'll tell you. The Boston bombers, they didn't get them right away. Before they got the, know any white guy's name, Mohammed, by the way, like this guy? Before they got the Boston bombers, the local police, they had a press conference, and they had a street camera, and they held it up, and they identified them as white guys. And I remember the liberal police in Boston, this was right after the Tsarnaev brothers, they were Chechen Muslims, remember? The liberal Boston police and the liberal media were so excited when they thought it was white guys that were responsible for the Boston bombing. Remember that? Oh, my goodness. They were almost high-fiving each other. They were so excited. They love to jam up white guys with crimes. They're always looking to protect the truth. The news is not in the business of reporting the news. The news are in the business of covering up the news. One time when this was insane was the Fort Hood. Remember? Major Nidal Hasan? Nidal Hasan. When that happened, that was much closer to, we had Iraq and all that going on pretty hot at the time. We all knew right away that it was Islamic terrorism at Fort Hood. They did not tell us who did it till well after the dark. It was like 8, 9 o'clock at night. Then they finally told us what we knew all day, that it was Islamic terrorism at Fort Hood. When the Islamic terrorist attack The media are always looking to cover it up. And that's a fact, Jack. They do that. They don't want their victim classes to properly be reported, like that Nashville shooter. They've covered a lot up about that. And these liberals that are running the local police out in Colorado, when you have a guy with Molotov cocktails yelling "Free Palestine" and he's Egyptian and he's setting Jews on fire at an event where they're getting together to support the Israeli hostages that are being held, and he's lighting these people on fire, you can assume it's an Islamic terrorist attack. But not the liberals that run the police department in Colorado.
So I've been in contact with our local FBI multiple times.
Yes.
We're not calling it a terror attack at this point. Again,
yeah, because you're a liberal idiot. We're not calling it. The guy's yelling "Free Palestine" as he's lighting Jews on fire. What do you call that? Are you smoking that legalized weed out in Boulder? What are you doing, Chief? My goodness. Remember, this is not a joke. After Nadal Hassan, remember this? After he shot up Fort Hood, remember what the Obama administration labeled that officially on the books? They didn't label it terrorism. They labeled it workplace violence. Remember that? That's not a joke. Anyway, let's get back to this idiot liberal police chief in Colorado.
so I've been in contact with our local FBI multiple times. So we are in contact with them here. We're not calling it a terror attack at this point. Again,
Yeah.
really expecting motive. I know there's a lot out there on social media, but I ask people just to give us a little bit of patience while we work through a really complex scene. A lot of witnesses were here. We've taken them to another location to debrief them and interview them. As we do that, I think the picture will become more clear. But it would be irresponsible for me to speculate on motive this early on. We're only
He's yelling "Free Palestine." He's Egyptian, and he's setting Jews on fire. How can you? What is this guy? Keystone liberal cops out there. What do you mean you can't call it terrorism? What is it with the left? What is it with the left? This may be the only white police chief in America, too. I haven't seen a white police chief at a press conference for a high-profile incident in a long time. Seems like years. And what is up with this guy? When the guy's yelling "Free Palestine" and setting Jews on fire, what else would you classify that as? Oh, my goodness. I really don't understand the brain damage that liberals suffer from, but I'll tell you this. All the griping that I and others have been doing about Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, this is their moment to stand up and shine. And I think there's a real quick move already going on before the sun has come up to try to portray this guy as just a lunatic loner. That's what they all do. I don't buy it. I mean, I saw the video of this guy with his Molotov cocktail flamethrower that he constructed. Why do they always assume these are loners? No. The guy that committed the act of terrorism in D.C. and murdered the Israeli embassy staffers, that was terrorism as well. Now, he may not have been Muslim. He was a Democrat. And, here's the thing with the Democrat Party. Remember on Friday, I think it was Friday I was talking about this, the Southern Poverty Law Center labeled Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA a domestic hate group, right? Remember I was telling you about this on Friday? I think it was Friday's show, may have been Thursday, but I think it was Friday, which is insane and stupid and just not true. Charlie Kirk's a great man, and his organization is fantastic. They helped save our country in this last election. Charlie Kirk deserves the Presidential Medal of Freedom for his great work. But the real hate group in this country is the Democrat Party, the DNC. Because what the Democrat, a lot of people say, the Democrat Party, what is it all about now, right? Because there's so much debate inside the Democrat Party. How can they win this group? This is what the Democrat Party is. I said this after the terrorist attack in D.C. with the Israeli embassy staffers. I said this. I said what the Democrat Party is a a recruiting organization that radicalizes and recruits terrorists. I mean, that's basically what they're doing. And they've got to be called out for it. Now, we're going to go through the details of this after the break. You're welcome to call in. If you're on hold, hang in there. Our number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. You know, I want to tell you guys about the doorbell camera. My wife and I, I've been up since midnight, okay? We could not find where we have our cats, 3 cats, but my daughter, who just moved back to Florida from Los Angeles, she hasn't found her permanent digs yet. So her cats are staying with us until she gets settled in her new place. And we couldn't find one of the cats, and we were in a panic. We tore the whole house up. We couldn't find the cat. And we were panicked that the cat got out. This cat's, born and raised in Los Angeles, doesn't know where it's at. And we were really nervous about it. And then you know what we did? We got the footage out off the cell phone from the doorbell camera. And, with the doorbell camera, which you can get for free with the installation of your Sloman Shield, I'm going to give you the number in just a moment. Anytime there's movement at the door, not only do you get notified, but there's a record of it. So we went through, we remembered the last time we saw the cat, and we went through all the footage. Anytime there was any movement, the camera activated, and we saw that the cat didn't get out, okay? And so we were able to finally find the cat, by the way, but we were able to take our anxiety away that the cat had not escaped because of the motion detector that's connected to the camera. Anytime there's movement at your door or in front of your house, the camera's activated. And we went through it all. We found the cat, but man, it was scary. We were afraid. Like, if the cat got out, we were done. I mean, what would we tell our daughter? But no, the cat, he is safe. And we were in a panic until we went through the doorbell camera footage. Yeah, so you can get a doorbell camera from Sloman's that connects directly to your cell phone too, for free with the installation of your Sloman Shield. Sloman's, they're also going to give you a free customized home security system and professional installation when you use their low-cost central station monitoring. Sloman's is going to give you an LED touchscreen, a motion detector, 10 contacts, a lifetime warranty, and a backup battery. Plus, you'll receive a free doorbell camera with the installation of your Sloman Shield. Give them a call, toll-free, 1-833-283-5050. 833-283-5050. 833-283-5050. All right, I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. We'll take our first break of the week and be right back. Welcome, everyone. If you are new, make sure you subscribe. Why do you think, guys, they immediately label this guy a white? You look at this guy. Does he look white to you? He looks Egyptian. Why do you think they labeled him white all of a sudden? And why do you think they won't call it terrorism? What do you think that's all about? Yeah, if you're on hold, hang in there. If you'd like to call in, the number is pinned in the chat. This guy needs to go to Gitmo. What would you rather send this guy, Gitmo or the El Salvador prison? Where should he go, this guy, this terrorist? I mean, this is terrorism. This is foreign Islamic terrorism. This is not something for the regular justice system. Yeah, welcome. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. This is our first break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Okay. We'll be back in 1 minute. If you're on hold, hang in there. And if you'd like to call in, the number is pinned in the live chat. Welcome. If you're new, subscribe, guys. This is where MAGA comes to talk. We're back. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. This Islamic terrorist, I got a question for you about this. I will go through all the details, and if you're just tuning in, I'll recap in a bit. But I have a question for you. This Islamic terrorist in Boulder, Colorado, this is pretty bad. I mean, this is a brutal act of terrorism. He's an illegal from Egypt, and this is most definitely foreign Islamic terrorism. So I don't think there's any question this should not go through the local liberal court system in Colorado. No doubt about that. I mean, this is Homeland Security stuff. There's two places he could be sent. Which prison would you rather this Boulder Islamic terrorist be sent to? Guantanamo Bay, Gitmo, or the El Salvador prison? Where do you think he'd rather go? Gitmo or the El Salvador prison? My vote would be for El Salvador. Let me know what you think. 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. Once, twice. All right, you missed your chance. All right, so let me recap, and then we'll get into the details. So this is, if you're on hold, hang in there. This Islamic terrorist, immediately MSNBC label him a white guy. He's a white male. Okay? And then the local police chief, the guy's yelling "Free Palestine" as he sets Jews on fire with with a homemade, I don't know, they say Molotov cocktail. It also looked like a blowtorch kind of thing that he made as he's yelling, "Free Palestine."
So I've been in contact with our local FBI multiple times. So we are in contact with them here. We're not calling it a terror attack at this point. Again, it's way too early to speculate motive.
Really, he's yelling "Free Palestine" as he sets Jews on fire. What are you the chief of? Well, I can't say that on the air. I would say chief of the dip S's. I mean, come on. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Oh, it's going to be one of those days. You're on the air. Once, twice. All right, you're out of luck. Okay, so if you're on hold, hang in there. Now, this guy, Mohammed Solomon, okay, this is from Fox News. The suspect in the targeted terror attack in Boulder, Colorado, where a pro-Israel group was advocating for Hamas to release the Israeli hostages, was in the United States illegally. Mohammed Solomon, age 45, was arrested, taken to the hospital with minor injuries after his alleged attack on the Run for Their Lives group that was gathering on Pearl Street, police said Sunday night. So this idiot police chief with his press conference, he knew who he attacked and what happened and what he was saying when he did it, but he still wouldn't call it terrorism. The group is a grassroots organization that facilitates global run and walk events calling for the release of the Israeli hostages held by Hamas. This particular chapter meets on a weekly basis. So this looks premeditated. He knew they were there every week and targeted them. Solomon is an Egyptian who overstayed his visa after entering the United States during the Biden administration. This is according to Homeland and Immigration. He first arrived in the United States after landing at Los Angeles International Airport in August 22 with a non-immigrant visa. So Biden gave this terrorist a visa. He was authorized to stay through February 23, but he never left. In March 23, he was granted work authorization, which was valid through March of this year. Why are they giving this guy work authorization? A terror attack was committed in Boulder, Colorado by an illegal alien, said Stephen Miller on X. He was granted a tourist visa by the Biden administration, Stephen Miller told us. A tourist? And then he illegally overstayed that visa. In response, the Biden administration gave him a work permit. So even though he overstayed his visa, they gave him a work permit? Solomon was allegedly yelling "Free Palestine" during the attack, which was near the county courthouse on Pearl Street. Police responded to the area after receiving reports of a man with a weapon setting people on fire. My goodness. The FBI said 8 people, ages 52 to 88, were injured and taken to the hospital. One of those victims is considered to be in critical condition. My goodness. FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino. Now, Bongino and Kash Patel, they got a moment to shine now. Let's see what you got, Bongino. FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino said the attack is being investigated as an act of ideologically motivated violence based on early information, evidence, and witness accounts. That's Bongino. Solomon was booked into the Boulder County Jail last night. The specific charges he's facing were not immediately available. Well, he needs to be picked up by Homeland Security, by the feds. This is an act of terrorism. This is not some local law enforcement. They'll put this guy in a mental institution and say he's a lone crazy man and whitewash it. All right, we're going to take our bottom of the hour break. Callers on hold, stand by. It's the Steve Kane Show. I'm Brian Craig. We'll be right back. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your name? Where are you calling from? Once, twice. All right. Yeah. I'm going to put you on hold. I'll take your call after the break. All right? Hold on. I mean, how much do they need to hear before they can say terrorism? These people are out of their freaking minds. If you're on hold, stand by. We'll be back in a little more than a minute. You're on hold? I picked up one call during the break. Was that you? Otherwise, I won't know which line is you. About 30 seconds or so. Yeah, if you're new, make sure you subscribe, all right? I don't know. If you want to call in, the number is pinned in the live chat. You're all welcome to call. Welcome back. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest running radio show. Call us on hold. Stand by. America under attack. Second Islamic terrorist attack in the homeland. This one, Boulder, Colorado. Guy yelling "Free Palestine" as he lit Jews on fire. New York Post. This is the accurate headline, not all this politically correct stuff. Here's the headline in the New York Post. Madman launches targeted terror attack with Molotov cocktails, makeshift flamethrower, injuring 8 while shouting "Free Palestine." A hate-fueled madman. This is the New York Post. Yeah, I mean, that's it. You know, just because someone's crazy doesn't mean that it's okay for them to do crime, right? A hate-fueled madman launched a targeted terror attack in Colorado on Sunday, that's yesterday, New York Post, setting at least one woman on fire and injuring 8 total as he screamed "Free Palestine" and blasted a makeshift flamethrower and Molotov cocktails against a crowd commemorating Israeli hostages still in Gaza. And I don't know how many of you have been around fire. I mean, I've never been around something exactly like this, but when you're around fire this close, oh boy, it's hot. Can you imagine when you got a guy, you're here, you know, one of the reasons you don't see a lot of demonstrations of Jews in this country during all of these horrific things is because of this. They're scared. And you know what? They've got reason to be scared because we've got 2 now Islamic terrorist attacks in less than 2 weeks. Video footage captured the alleged attacker, who FBI officials have identified as Mohammed Solomon, in the middle of a tirade about Palestine and calling for the death of Zionists before he tossed the homemade incendiary devices. Death to Zionist. Oh my goodness. The guy's yelling death to Zionist, free Palestine. He's setting Jews on fire, and this liberal lunatic police chief in Boulder still, he won't call it terrorism. They are killers. How many children you killed? The shirtless man who was reportedly in the country illegally shouted, "In Zionist," he screamed in the clip. You know, now this is another thing. Because, you know, we've seen how the liberals respond to these type of horrendous events. Sadly, many times in the past we've seen it. And they like to go into this, well, you know, yeah, this guy did this thing, it was bad, we're opposed to it, but he's just a lone guy. This is, you know, most people in this, you know, it could be Muslims, it could be, you know, the trans shooter in Nashville. Most Muslims, they don't agree with this. They're peaceful. They always say that. What is he saying that the Democrats are not saying? In Zionism, free Palestine. What is he saying that they're not shouting in Gaza? And I'll tell you this, okay? These, you know, see, these anti-Semites, whether they're liberal Democrats like the guy that killed the Israeli staffers or this Islamic terrorist in Boulder, they view all Jews as Israelis. You may never have been to Israel. You may not be Israeli. You may be, you know, a lifelong resident of Colorado. You're all Israelis to them. 8 victims between ages 52 and 88 years old were hospitalized with varying injuries. Boulder police and FBI Denver special agents said 4 men and 4 women were wounded in the terror attack. This is New York Post. New York Post calling it what it is, a terror attack. 2 were medevaced and at least 1 was left in critical condition. You know, my grandmother, she was a nurse in a burn unit. Oh my goodness. That's like the worst, the burn unit. Have any of you ever seen burn victims or been around them? Oh my goodness. I went to school with a girl who was burned in a fire, and her face was burned. It was, it's an awful, the pain is unbelievable. The treatment is unbelievably painful. You're scarred for life. Solomon, 45, was arrested at the scene, and he was also hospitalized. The crazed firebug, New York Post writes, was holding bottles of a clear liquid while waiting for the group outside the downtown courthouse, said an organizer for the outdoor weekly commemoration Run for Their Lives in Boulder. You know, here in Florida, we have a large Jewish population. There are probably more Jews in Florida than in Israel, right? And, you know, you go by Jewish schools, synagogues and such, there's always police there. And a lot of times people think, oh, why do they do that? Why? What do they? This. He then apparently lit the liquid and chucked the containers at the walkers, striking 5 people and badly burning 1 woman who had to roll on the ground to extinguish her flames, the organizer told the New York Post. My goodness. This is just awful. Calls started flooding 9/11 shortly after the attack at 1:26 p.m. local time. So that's I guess, what is that? Is that 3:26 here on the East Coast? The initial callers indicated there was a man with a weapon and people were being set on fire, says a press release. We were on the scene quickly, police say. When we arrived, we encountered multiple victims that were injured, with injuries consistent with burns and other injuries. The suspect was pointed out by the crowd and taken into custody without incident. And, this is, these last two Islamic terror incidents, the one in D.C. where the Israeli embassy staffers were killed, and this guy, notice neither of them fled the scene. They both wanted to be arrested. The FBI will be investigating the situation as an act of terrorism. As a result of the preliminary facts, it's clear this was a targeted act of violence, and the FBI is investigating this as an act of terrorism. That's right. Sadly, attacks like this are becoming common across the country. This is an example of how perpetrators of violence continue to threaten communities across the nation. That's a spokesperson that said that. The terrorist suspect, an Egyptian national, had overstayed his visa, was in the country illegally. Okay, and it goes on with some things I've already covered. See, we talk a lot about, this isn't crime, this is terrorism. But when we talk about crime with the illegals, and this guy's an illegal, what do the left say? Well, Americans are doing crime too. These are crimes that if you're enforcing border security properly, these are crimes that would never happen. This terrorist attack is a direct result of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Obama. We're finding since his representatives were running the country with the auto pen. So this terror attack in Colorado is the responsibility of Joe and Joe Biden, his chief of staff, Hunter Biden, Kamala Harris, and Barack Obama, and that presidential auto pen committee as well. It's disgusting. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Oh, this is going to be one of those days, guys. I'm telling you, we're getting a run. And all these calls that I've taken today. If you notice the way they've been behaving, you know what that's about, don't you? You know what that's about? It's about anti-Semitism. Liberals in this country, for whatever reason, they believe that this type of behavior, they're mad at me for talking about it. All right, we'll try another. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This type of behavior, they're mad at me for talking about.
You're on the air.
You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling
See what I mean?
Miles.
Hey, Miles. Turn down the volume in the background, Miles.
You're on the air.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but you got to turn down the volume of the whatever device you're listening to me on in the background.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. What's the topic?
Well, the way this show works is you tune in and listen, and you call in about what I'm talking about. We're obviously talking about
anti-Semitism.
Well, there was an Islamic terrorist attack in Colorado.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
That's what we're talking about.
Okay. Well, my opinion is the left is dangerous and they're violent.
Well, this guy's not a liberal. This guy's an Islamic terrorist. He's an Islamic Egyptian who's in the country illegally, and he carried out an act of terrorism. Now, the things he was shouting are the same things that the Democrats say: free Palestine, Zionism, end Zionism, and all of that. He did have some liberal talking points. All right, if you're on hold, stand by. We'll take our last break of the first hour and be right back. you're on hold, stand by. Yes, that is one of the cats. That's one of my daughter's cats. We'll be back in just 1 minute. Welcome. Make sure you subscribe if you are new. We are back. It is Monday. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to The Steve Kane Show. And we are covering, of course, the Islamic terrorist attack that is just a god-awful one that happened yesterday afternoon in Boulder, Colorado, where the Islamic terrorist was shouting out a bunch of liberal Democrat talking points that you would hear regularly by guests and pundits on MSNBC and CNN. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello.
Yes.
This is Mike from Missouri.
Yes, Mike.
I only found you about 6 months ago. Really love your show. Definitely with you 100% and everything. I'm a little late getting started this morning, but you was mentioning the Boston bombing. And I just wanted to say, watch, if you get a chance, the Boston unbombing. And see what you think of that. It was really something.
Well, tell me about it. Tell me what you want me to see. I'm not going to watch it, but you can tell. What is it I would take away from it?
Well, it was a bunch of evidence of it. It was a stage performance.
That's nonsense. That's nonsense. We all watched it live. They blew up the pressure cookers during the Boston Marathon that has 1 million cameras on it because it's the Boston Marathon.
Yeah, well, it had some cameras up from the second, third floor right at the finish
I don't
line.
have time for stupidity. I mean, come on. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey there, I'm Reed Foster.
All right, go ahead. What's on your mind?
So, I did hear you say that he was saying incredibly leftist slogans.
Free Palestine. Yeah, free Palestine.
These,
Yeah.
Yes, of course. And I wanted to ask you who the KKK endorses.
No one.
The two candidates.
No one.
No, they publicly endorsed Trump.
No, they did not.
Does
Really?
that
Well,
mean,
really?
Does that mean,
slow
does
down.
that mean that Trump supports the KKK? No, it does not.
Well, what your premise is wrong. Who is the leader of the KKK that gave this endorsement?
It was the entire coalition of
What
the
coalition?
KKK.
What coalition?
They publicly endorsed.
No.
Look it up. They publicly
I don't need to
endorsed
look it up. Listen. They have not. They are not.
also gave millions
Slow.
of dollars to the
Slow
Trump
down.
Foundation
Slow
to
down.
fight in
No, they did not. That's all made
On
up
the
stuff.
campaign.
That's all made up. That's all made up. And
How are you going to say it's made up if you haven't done the research?
I follow all this stuff. I don't have to do research every time some idiot liberal like you calls in. I live life, and my whole life is research. Okay, if the KKK, which is not really a organized organization like it was back in the Democrat Jim Crow era, but if the KKK came out and not only endorsed President Trump and MAGA candidates and donated millions of dollars, it would be a major news story, as it should be if it were true, on every major media outlet. And it's not, because it's not true. This is a liberal, one of those things I would call a liberal urban legend. Why would the excuse me, and I'm going to give you evidence. I'm going to give you evidence, my liberal friend, that the KKK is not an organized political organization. The KKK, what type of people do they hate more than any other?
I want you to take a wild guess.
What type of people? The Ku Klux Klan. They hate a lot of different people, but there's one group they hate more than any. When the Democrats formed the Ku Klux Klan, they were focused on one group. What group do they hate the most?
The Democrats?
No, the KKK.
Hold on.
The Democrats started the Klan. That's correct. Nathan Bedford Forrest. Do your research. Do your research, as you say. Nathan Bedford Forrest, Confederate general, formed the Ku Klux Klan. It was a Democrat community activist organization. What group of people, what type of person do the Klan hate more than any other?
Who?
You don't know? Blacks.
You're
Blacks people. I'm asking you the question. I'm not asking myself questions. You know, black people, right? They hate black people more than any other group. Okay? If the Ku Klux Klan, so they hate black, you agree with that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the Ku Klux Klan hate blacks more than any other group. Why do we not hear from them when we had 4 years of a black vice president, Kamala Harris, and 8 years of a black president, Barack Obama? I would think having a black president and vice president would freak them out, the Ku Klux Klan. Yet they're silent. We only hear about them when liberals bring them up when we have Republican presidents. Why did they, if they're an organized group, why were they not protesting and being vocal when we had 8 years of a black president and 4 years of a black vice president? Can you answer me that?
Overwhelming power. The entire government, if it's ran by a Democrat,
my goodness. Here's another college boy. The Ku Klux Klan is a tiny little group of yahoos that aren't involved in politics, okay? They're not even really active. Democrat, if they were, there's nothing that would freak them out more than having a black president of the United States. In 8 years, we didn't hear one peep, okay? Right? I mean, so why did we not hear from them during the 8 years of a black president? If they're out there and so organized.
I don't know. I'm not part of it.
You don't know. Oh my God. They didn't teach you that in college?
Am I supposed to know?
Well, what you said to me, the answer is, you know the answer. You might be a liberal idiot, but you're not completely stupid. They don't exist as a political organization.
Because I'm not a liberal.
Oh yeah, really? What are you? Then what are you then?
I'm not a liberal.
What are you?
I'm not a Republican either.
What are you?
I'm in the middle.
Oh, I know. You're an independently liberal.
On both sides.
Both extreme. All right, thank you for the call. Yeah, he's independently liberal. Oh my goodness. Now, you know what I have in studio this morning? I have my pillow that I slept on last night. This is the Giza luxury My Pillow that I'm holding in my arm right now, and this is the My Pillow I slept on last night. You know, the premium My Pillow, which is covered with the Giza cotton cover, is absolutely amazing. You know, Giza cotton is the finest cotton in the world. It really, truly is. And of course, it has that patented fill. This pillow is the one I slept on last night. And this this premium My Pillow with the Giza cover on it, this is the firm one. I like mine firm. So, you can get it, soft, firm, medium. When you order your My Pillow, you can get your My Pillow with however much fill you want. Some people like them really soft. Some people like them kind of in the middle. Some people like them firm. I like my Pillows firm. And my favorite is the premium My Pillow because it's got that Giza cotton cover on it. The regular price for these is $69.98, but at mypillow.com with my promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, you can get yours for just $19.98. That's right, just $19.98, a huge discount. And you can use my promo code Kane, Kane, at checkout for all the specials at mypillow.com. But the Giza, it's still time to order for Father's Day. Order your My Pillow. They come in both queen and king sizes. This is the queen size. All right, let's go back to the phones. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Scott calling from, this time, northeast Kansas City, Missouri.
All right.
Yeah, all right. Heard you talking about where to send this individual who's a firebug with live people.
The terrorist, no. The terrorist in Colorado, I'd ask, which prison would you rather this terrorist go to, Gitmo or El Salvador?
Oh, definitely El Salvador. But my concern is what happens when a new regime in the future, yes, it could happen, takes over. Right now, I'm bugged about Abul Omar Rahman, who he's passed away, but his lawyer, Lynn Stewart, and this is after 9/11, she was released from prison. She was passing intel to his field people.
Yeah.
And she got caught.
Well, I mean, the way what you're asking is when the Democrats are back in power, none of this matters because the Democrats are just going to reverse it. That's loser thinking. A lot of people.
That's realistic thinking, my man.
No, it's not. You like to feel like a loser. You know what it is with people like you?
No, it's not with me.
Yes, it is. It is with you. Believe me. I know.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is. You
You
want to be a victim. You want to feel like a victim.
No, I do not want to be a victim. I want to be a prepared individual who.
I'm going to make a suggestion to you. Okay, find a therapist. You need therapy. All right.
Now.
All right. Take care. I appreciate it. A lot of people like to feel like victims. And they're only comfortable when they feel like victims. I'm sorry. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air.
I apologize. I had some.
You're on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I am Catherine.
All right, what's on your mind?
Here, give me 1 second. I had bit of an echo that was keeping me from properly understanding you.
All right.
And that is on me.
Okay, go ahead. What'd you call about? Oh my God, we're almost out of time for the hour, so yeah. All right. See what we're dealing with here? We've got 10 seconds. All right. Once, twice.
There we go.
Okay. You got about 10 seconds now. You ate up all your time. All right. Why'd you call?
I am Catherine Sims from Kentucky.
All right, Kentucky.
And I wanted to address just a few things you had said. First of all, I agree that the attack was terrorism.
Oh, I'm glad. Listen, I'm going to put you on hold through the break. We're up against the break. All right, since you're calling from Kentucky and all. I don't usually hold callers over, but I'll give her a special little break. All right, we'll be right back. No, that is the actual pillow I slept on last night. It is. Okay, we'll be back in about 3 minutes. If you're on hold, stand by. I'm going to go back to the lady from Kentucky and then do a little recap after that and then go back to the calls. But you know what I was telling that guy, but basically what he says is everything Trump's doing is for nothing because liberals will be back in power one day. Does that sound like a guy who thinks like a winner? That's a guy who thinks like a loser and likes being a victim and likes to whine and complain about how bad things are all the time and not get anything done. That's it. If you're on hold, hang in there. And if you're new, subscribe, guys. Oh, boy, I tell you. I mean, do you guys agree with me about that caller? What's it matter? What a loser way of thinking about things. Why does anything matter in that instance? I mean, come on. Give me a break. Trump thinks like a winner, not like a loser. All right, 1 minute, we'll be back. Yeah, this shirt I'm wearing is the one, I bought this shirt at that mall that Steve and I did that appearance at, that they called the police and kicked us out. Remember that? I bought 2 of these that day before they evicted us kicked us out. Back shortly. All right, we're back, and I held the lady over from Kentucky. All right, what's on your mind, Kentucky?
All right. First of all, as I said before, I do agree that the story that you brought up was indeed terrorism.
Oh, well, what gave it away that when he was yelling "Death to Zionist, Free Palestine"? What was it that tipped you off that it was terrorism?
It was the Death to Zionist.
Yes. The Free Palestine and setting Jews on fire is that's what clued me in. When somebody runs around setting Jews on fire, I know right away it's terrorism, even without hearing what they said.
Under every single metric, any action meant to murder someone for being a specific group.
Another college person. All right. So what's on your mind? You called me. What did you want to share?
I would, first of all, I would argue, though, that not every person who, of course, sorry, my words weren't, not every person who supports Palestine is someone who does it because they hate Jews. There are people, indeed, that do hide behind it and hide their hatred. Okay, so
you're as a woman from Kentucky, you're supporting the Hamas that invaded Israel raped and murdered women, kidnapped many women to take back to Gaza as sex slavery. You say you support them. Why is that?
I will say Hamas is another terrorist group, but I will also say if
But you support them.
actually look at certain Israel people, such as I'm pretty sure it was the former chief of defense of Israel. Israel itself, the chief of defense, admitted that what they are doing in Palestine is several war crimes, and that.
Well, wait a minute. I'm curious. I'm curious why a woman in America is supporting an organization and a group of people that invaded a music festival, raped and murdered women, and kidnapped women as sex slaves and took them back to Gaza. Why are you sympathetic to them?
Can I say this real quickly? I'm just going to lay it out on air. If every single Hamas person was murdered, I would not give a fuck.
Oh, all right. First dump button of the week. All right. Oh, boy, Mike. First one of the week. Let's keep track this week of how many times we have to use the dump button. Oh, my Lord. You know, and you notice, I asked her at least twice, but maybe 3 times, but at least twice, why is she supporting these rapists, kidnappers, and sex slavers? She didn't comment on that once, did she? She didn't condemn it once. And was that a Kentucky accent? Do you know anyone from Kentucky who sounds like that? All right, hour number 2 has begun. I held that very unladylike lady over through the break because I picked up her call right before the top of the hour, and she had some things to say, she thought. Hour number 2 has begun. My name is Brian Craig. It is Monday, and we are talking about this god-awful terrorist attack that happened in Boulder, Colorado. The guy was setting Jews on fire and that were at a peaceful demonstration. That's all you need to know that it was an act of Islamic terrorism, right? I mean, it was terrorism. And, you know, I've heard from more than one liberal today, you know, none of the liberals have condemned the attacks, have they? Did I miss it? Have any of the Democrats who called me today condemned the attack? If they have, I've forgotten. All right, let's go back to the phones. 1-888-465-2631. You're on the air. Yes.
Good morning. How you doing, Brian?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Let me just turn on my TV for a minute. I apologize for that.
That's okay.
Yes, I was calling because I was going to call Friday, but I didn't ever get a chance to do it. I was busy. I had to go to a foot doctor, so I was really busy Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get a chance to come because fortunately I'm seeing a doctor about the problem having the nerve pain in my foot.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, I'm good.
Good.
I'm calling because I want to address the issue about this guy, this terrorist attack that happened yesterday. This is disgusting. Now, this is 2 weeks now from what I know, and Jews been killed or hurt or harmed by these people.
That's right.
And we have politicians, Democrat, and we have people, millions and millions in this country, supporting these people.
Mm-hmm.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And if you notice, every Democrat I've talked to today, not only have they not condemned the terror attack in Colorado, they have not condemned the terror attack in D.C., and they have not condemned the acts of Hamas at the music festival. And they always respond, well, but Israel, and then they have something they say, you know. It's amazing to me. You know, I got that woman, that young lady I was just talking to wouldn't condemn the rapist. And she probably thinks she's a feminist.
Yeah. It's It's disgusting, and it's just it baffles. And I just think at the end of the day, we have to call them out for who they are. Yeah, they straight up liberals, and they follow whatever the liberals tell them, or whatever the media liberals tell them. That's what they go.
Well, you know what it is with liberals? Liberals hate Jews.
Yeah.
They hate Jews. Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah.
And they the reason that they don't condemn these actions, including the one in Boulder, is because they think that that they brought this upon themselves for things that Israel did.
Yes, this is it.
These are sickos.
I want everyone, because I've been going on True Social for my post up, and I've been telling it all. You guys gotta stop giving these people a platform to come on your show, not you, but other people, come on your show and lie to you. No, these people hate Jews. They are radical liberals, and they hate Jews, and we have them right here in America. We have terrorist cells, terrorist organization, terrorist foundation in America.
Yeah, in fact, you know, the guy that murdered the Israeli embassy staffers a couple weeks ago, he wasn't a Muslim or an illegal like this Islamic terrorist in Boulder. He was an American from California, but he had been radicalized into becoming a terrorist by the messaging from the Democrats and the left-wing media. He was, you know, both of these guys, this monster yesterday in Colorado and the monster in D.C., both were shouting Free Palestine when they were either murdering or trying to murder Jews.
Yeah, it's sad, though. I mean, it's so sad. I hear it all the time. I even got into it with one of my friends that I knew for a long time, that we associate, and she's a Christian. And she got mad and called me a week ago, telling me, why you don't never call Donald Trump out for what he do? I said, for what? For what? What is he doing wrong?
Exactly.
He calling out the crooks. He calling out these politicians. He calling out the media. He calling out the lies that he was proposed to deal with in the White House. Are you serious?
Yeah.
So I don't have anything to say negative about him. So don't. And I told her, I said, don't call my phone until you address your party, which is a Democrat liberal. Until you address their issue, don't come calling me about no foolishness.
That's right. That's right. Well, listen, I appreciate the call. All right. Take care. Take care. Now, you know, I got together on Saturday with some friends, and some of them were some of our cruisers that go on our MAGA cruise got together for a birthday party Saturday with a group of people that go on our MAGA cruises. And I've not seen them since the cruise, which was just a couple of months ago. And they were all complimenting on how much weight I lost. I mean, they really were. They're like, wow, because they hadn't seen me in person, right? They may see me on YouTube and heard me talking about it on the radio, but they hadn't seen me in person. And they said, wow. And of course, everybody asks me about you know what the number one question I get asked about Coastal Weight Loss Secret? What do you think? The most common question that almost everybody asks me about all this weight I've lost. And by the way, I'm wearing this the shirt I'm wearing today is one of my favorite Trump shirts. I've not worn this shirt in a long time. I bought this shirt, I don't know, about 3 or 4 years ago. Remember we did that appearance at the mall and they called the police on us because we were MAGA. Remember that? This shirt was too small and tight. I bought it and I outgrew it real quick as I gained weight, and it fits me perfectly. The most common question people ask me is, what's the secret? And what I tell them is, call Coastal Weight Loss Secret. Okay, call Coastal Weight Loss Secret. Go meet with Dr. Zuckerman, and he'll tell you. But they all were, they're like, wow, Brian, you really have lost a lot of weight. You look great. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And, you know, if you want to lose 20 pounds, 25 pounds, 50 pounds, 100 pounds, 150, 350, whatever it is, they can help. And also, no matter where you're located in the United States, Coastal Weight Loss Secret can help you no matter where you're located. Give them a call. Here's the number, 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. That's 561-247-6300. And online, coastalweightloss.secret.com. We'll take our first break of the second hour. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. We'll be right back. We'll be back in a couple minutes, guys. We'll be back in less than 2 minutes. Welcome, everyone. If you are new, make sure you subscribe. This is where MAGA comes to talk. We are back. I'm Brian Craig. Callers on hold. Stand by. All right. So here we are. We've had 2 Islamic terrorist attacks in 2 weeks, right? The radicalized Democrat who murdered the Israeli embassy workers that were just about to be engaged in D.C. He stayed at the scene because he wanted to get arrested. Now we've got this illegal immigrant, Islamic terrorist from Egypt that committed a horrific act of terrorism in Boulder, Colorado yesterday afternoon. And here we are, 1 hour and 20 minutes into the program. We have not heard a single liberal Democrat have a negative word about these terrorists. And the one yesterday, nothing. They've talked about, well, you know, Israel did this, the Ku Klux Klan that. But this is how Democrats always are. And when there's terrorism, they never condemn these terrorists. You know, a lot of you will forget. I will never forget the liberal reaction to 9/11. You know, we were on the air live when 9/11 happened, and back then we were on the air till 10 a.m. We did 4 hours in the morning, not 3 like we do now, and that was some rough time, man. It was a rough time, and the days and weeks after 9/11 were very difficult times on the air. And Democrats after 9/11, this has been wiped from the history books because liberals write the history for the most part. But leading Democrats were blaming us and Israel for the attacks. Bill Clinton And I bring up Bill Clinton because he was all over the news yesterday defending Biden's cognitive abilities. And Bill Clinton, after 9/11, said, we have to look at poverty in the Middle East and what role it had to drive these people to knock these buildings down, even though they were wealthy people that went to flight school and all that. Governor Cuomo, Mario Cuomo, the father of these idiots that run around now, who was a big-time Democrat, he said the same thing. What did we do to... He was the governor of New York at one point. He says, what did we do that caused them to do this? Chelsea Clinton wrote an article for Vanity Fair and said she was in Manhattan during the attack. And she saw, and she said as she saw people running away from the World Trade Center covered in all the ash, she was wondering how the Bush tax cuts were negatively impacting them. It was unbelievable. Now, the Democrats stopped making excuses for the terrorists by the end of the week after 9/11 because there was so much negative feedback. But liberals never condemn it. I remember the Boston bombing I was mentioning earlier. I was watching Fox News Live during the Boston bombing, and that's in the days when Shepard Smith was there in the afternoons. You guys remember this? Shepard Smith spent a good couple of hours blaming it on the electrical transformer and the power lines exploded. Everybody knew what happened. It was the finish line at the Boston Marathon. We all knew it was Islamic terrorism, except Shepard Smith. Well, Shepard Smith knew too. There was a lot of manifesting attempts and wishful thinking, which is what manifesting is. And I remember he went on this long, a lot of people don't know, in Boston, the electrical transformers are at the sidewalk level. It did not look like an electrical transformer. I've seen transformers light up. It looks, that's clearly electricity and everything else when those things happen. But whenever there is Islamic terrorism against the United States, the left are always reluctant to condemn it. They blame, look at after 9/11. Even still today, people blame Israel. They say the Jews got out of the building before the planes hit. Really? If they were in on it, why were they even there in the first place? And it happened before, when 9/11 happened, I'm only a tourist in New York. I've spent most of my life here in Florida, and I've only been to New York as a tourist. And one thing we learned in New York, the Al-Qaeda, thankfully, made one big mistake when they planned the attack. They hit the buildings too early. We lost 3,000 on 9/11, but the day of the attack, they thought that the death toll was 50,000 because that's how many people would have been in those buildings. And what I learned, I did not know this. Again, I'm just a tourist in New York. I've never lived or worked in New York. But at least then, people went to work later in the morning in New York. If they would have hit an hour later, it could have well been 50,000, not 3. But even when now this is not even when they thought it was 50,000. They were still, what did we do to drive them to this? And they were saying that the plane, remember this? Liberals were saying that the Israelis had the hijacked planes on remote control and actually flew them remotely like drones into the building. Remember all of that? So the way that liberals are reacting today, not condemning a horrific act of terrorism that we saw in Boulder, Colorado yesterday, this is consistent with liberals. No matter how young, no matter how old, and it's something they pass from generation to generation. And you really can't make sense of their lunacy other than to say that Michael Savage was right when he said that liberalism is a mental disorder. It absolutely is. They are psychopaths and sociopaths and just complete insane lunatics in general. All right, now, we're going to take our break for the bottom of the hour so I can be on time. I do have a couple of things on this that I want to cover before I move on, and then later I will recap everything in Colorado, but there are other things to discuss on the program as well. Those of you on hold, you stand by. When we get back, we'll take some calls at 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call no matter where you are listening. My name is Brian Craig. This is The Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. On the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio, and come August, it'll be 49. We'll take that break for the bottom of the hour and be right back. Oops. Drop something.
Used to have the pride section. It's now all USA. Yay. American summer. Except for tourism, because tourism's down because no one wants to come here. USA. Woo! And honestly, my dad serves in the military, and I'd love to be really proud of this nation, but it's hard to be proud of it under Donald Trump. But hey, you know, while you're here, pick up a USA bikini. Why not? Target's really taken this anti-DEI thing to another level.
Okay, I had to make sure there was no profanity in that. I wanted to play it one more time. Oh my goodness. We'll be back in 90 seconds. It's the longest running radio show, not morning radio show, Michael. Longest running radio show. A little more than 30 seconds, we'll be back. Welcome. Longest running radio show in the state of Florida. I think it's the longest running radio show in the United States with the same host, Steve Kane. I do believe that. It's hard to track that down, but I think it's the longest running radio show with the same host. The Grand Ole Opry claims that title, but it's not the same people. All right, we're back. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to The Steve Kane Show. You know, I've been researching this and have not been able to nail this down. You know, The Steve Kane Show is the longest running radio show in the state of Florida. That is without a doubt. And I believe this is the longest running radio show in the United States. The Grand Ole Opry claims to have the longest running radio show, but this is the longest running radio show with the same host, Steve Kane. I don't think there's another show on the air in America with the same host that's been on as long as this. But it's harder to verify that it is in the state of Florida. All right, let's get back to it. You know where DEI first started, didn't earn it? You know where that first started? Wokeism. Do you guys remember wokeism? Where did wokeism, which was an offshoot of the liberalism we've had to suffer through from time to time over the years, you know where it started at? Target. And Target, that's true. Remember, Target, out of the blue, started letting men use the ladies' room that identified as women. They were the first ones. And it wasn't just the ladies' room, it was the dressing rooms too. Men could use the ladies' dressing room in the clothing department at Target as well. And I've been a shopper at Target for a long time, at least since the Kmart shut down, right? And I mean, it's awful. And And I remember being on more than one occasion, being at Target with my wife or my daughter and standing outside the door of the ladies' room to make sure that a man didn't go in. And I don't think I'm the only husband or father that's done that. And then I had something happen to me. This was a few years ago because of Target. I was at Best Buy. This was a Best Buy in Boynton Beach, near the Boynton Beach Mall. And they had this woman who was selling DirecTV or something like that. And when you walked inside the Best Buy, it was really annoying. They shouldn't let people do that. And she was trying to sell me DirecTV, which I'm not interested in, or it was either DirecTV or it was some dish thing. And I was trying to get away from her. And she was a really hard-pressured woman, saleswoman. And then she started talking about gay pride to me. And I couldn't figure it out. And I couldn't figure out why all of a sudden she's talking about gay pride. So I was telling I went home and I told my wife the story, I said, why all of a sudden is she, I even had a wedding ring on. I had my wedding ring on. I said, what's that? And my wife said, look at this shirt you're wearing. And I said, yeah, I was wearing a Star Wars shirt. Had a TIE fighter in it. She said, no, look at it again. And I actually went in the mirror and looked at it. And I was shocked at what I found. Not only did Target start modern wokeism by letting men use the ladies' room and the dressing room, they have, I don't do this anymore. I stopped doing this because of what happened. Target, they had this section of T-shirts that were made for Gen X, right? I had some T-shirts that were Star Wars and Star Trek T-shirts I bought, and they had the rainbow flag hidden in them. Remember when The Little Mermaid came out? They had a liberal gay activist who drew the movie poster for The Little Mermaid during its theatrical release. And The Little Mermaid's castle, the towers were shaped like penises. Remember that? If you don't believe me, look it up online. You can see the penis castle from The Little Mermaid. And at Target, nobody noticed for like years that they did that guy did that. Well, the T-shirt, what they did is Target, how they got the gay pride flag in these T-shirts. I had a T-shirt with a TIE fighter on it, and it was in a battle going fast, and they had the rainbows coming out of the engines. I had a Star Trek shirt, and it had the original series Enterprise on it, and it was going to warp, and it had the rainbows coming out of it, which that's what, in the movie Enterprise, when they would go to warp, the rainbows would happen. Remember that Star Trek The Motion Picture? And I thought it was just a mistake. They had the wrong, no, it was gay. And I found that they had guys like me, married straight men like me, walking around with gay pride flags on, and we didn't even know it at Target. And I threw those shirts out, and I haven't bought a T-shirt at Target since. I don't know if they're still doing that. That was a number of years ago. But then a couple years back during the summer, there was another controversy, and Target got hit pretty hard, by the way. They got hit pretty hard by this when they had the gay pride section in the ladies department. Remember that? They were selling all this gay pride stuff during the summer a couple years ago at Target. And it was very controversial. And they were just starting to get customers back from the bathroom fiasco, and then they did that, and it was a big blow to them. Well, I came across this video of a woman who was in Target over the weekend, and she's a liberal woman, a Karen. She looks to be a millennial. Okay, she's a millennial Karen, white woman, and she not only is she upset that they took the gay pride stuff, she noticed that Target has purged their stores of DEI merch, and they've replaced it with, and this is what has her really upset, images of the American flag, the great American flag. And of course, we're coming up on our nation's birthday very soon, and on July 4th. Listen to this woman as she is in Target having a bit of a meltdown because the DEI merch is gone, and they're selling merchandise with our great American flag on it. Listen. Oh yeah, I forgot. It's Pride Month. Yes. Yes. The month of June is Gay Pride Month. And that was a couple of Gay Pride months ago is when Target had all the gay pride stuff. Well, that's not there anymore.
Happy Pride Month. In my Target that used to have the Pride section, it's now all USA.
Hear how she says that? USA. What's wrong with that? You know why? Because she's a millennial. So she grew up in the Obama era. And in the Obama era is when they started polluting the minds of young people to think America is the root of all evil, right? So she thinks there's something wrong with the United States of America.
Happy Pride Month. In my Target that used to have the Pride section, it's now all USA. Yay. American summer. Except for tourism, because tourism's down because no one wants to come here.
I guess she's in Florida. Tourism is not down in Florida. That's another one of those liberal urban legends. I was in some tourist areas over the weekend. Oh my goodness. I mean, this woman is she's upset. You know, being gay is no big deal anymore. Okay, it's no big deal. It used to be like a shocking thing. And I've been saying for years, if a child really wants to rebel against their parents, you know what, they come out as straight. Tell your parents you're straight. Oh my goodness. They'll put you in therapy. You come out and tell your parents you're straight and you want to marry somebody of the opposite sex, they're going to put you into, they're going to send you to some sweat lodge therapy somewhere and get you reprogrammed to pray the straight away.
Happy Pride Month. In my Target that used to have the Pride section, it's now all USA. Yay. American summer. Except for tourism, because tourism's down.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Honestly, my dad served in the military, and I'd love to be really proud of this nation, but it's hard to be proud of it under Donald Trump. But hey, while you're here, pick up a USA bikini. Why not? Yeah, Target's really taken this anti-DEI thing to another level.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. This woman's gone. She's like Ed Norton in American History X at dinner with Beverly D'Angelo and Elliot Gould. I mean, you can't get to this woman. Her mind has been she has been completely brainwashed. They like to say that MAGA people that were in a cult, they're in a cult. Liberalism is a cult, but Target doing this is not an accident during Pride Month. They have been, out of all of America's retailers out there, because there's a Target in everybody's neighborhood in the United States pretty much. Out of all of the big national retailers, none of them have been as pro-woke, DEI, and gay pride as Target. Or as some people call it, Target. And for them in Pride Month not to have any gay stuff out, I mean, wasn't it Target that was selling those things that girls wear to hide their breast, their boob, right? Women wear those, what do they call those things? They're like girdles for the boobs that women wear that are trying to hide that they've got breast. The boys don't cry kind of thing. They were selling that stuff. Remember that? For children! For children! So for them in Gay Pride Month, not to have gay merch, But to have merch celebrating the great United States of America, I know 4th of July is next month, but they had gay pride in the past couple gay pride months. That means that they've realized this is Trump's America. You know, all this wokeism, like these athlete cheaters, the guys that are beating the girls and breaking the records in California, and was in the news a lot over the weekend. People thought that was a majority viewpoint. It's not. Wokeism, all this stuff under the umbrella of wokeism, whether it's the men in the sports, the DEI, whatever it is, only a very small group of people in this country believe that lunacy. But they're overrepresented in media. So it seems more common. And what this election has done is liberated so many people that have been going along with something that they thought was popular, but it's not. Wokeism, which is a big umbrella, including this gay pride stuff. Now, I'm not against Gay Pride Month. You know, people can, I mean, they have a month for everything and a week for everything. I mean, they have Donut Month. I mean, I don't worry about what these months are. But I don't think it's appropriate in a family store like Target to have a pride section in there when people are taking their kids in to, buy clothes for the summertime. I just don't think it's appropriate. It's selling an agenda. But they've taken it out now because we are not in Kamala Harris's America. We're in Trump's America. And let me tell you, this is a big victory for this country, for Target not to have their gay pride stuff up during gay pride. It's huge. And this woman's out. This is a huge victory. If Kamala Harris had won, oh my goodness. If Kamala Harris would have won that gay pride stuff, it'd be there. Now, I have in the studio with me today the MyPillow I slept on last night. This is the MyPillow I have in the studio today. This is the premium MyPillow. The cover is of the Giza cotton. Okay, I slept on this pillow last night, and this one is firm. This is the firm pillow. I have all the MyPillows. This one is my favorite because it has the Giza cotton cover on it. This is the premium upscale MyPillow. You know, you've got the standard MyPillow, which is spectacular. I've had mine for years, and I love it. But the premium MyPillow, which has the Giza cover, is the luxury MyPillow. It has that patented fill inside. And that Giza cotton cover, it's just so cool and comfortable. Keeps you very, very cool and comfortable during these hot summer months. The regular price for this pillow is $69.98. But with our promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E, it's just $19.98. It'll change your life. If you think you've gotten a good night's sleep, you haven't until you've slept on a MyPillow. I've been sleeping on MyPillows for over 10 years. And I'm so busy. I have so much going on. If I'm lucky, I get 5 hours of sleep. You know, I got up last night because we had a little family emergency. I've been up since midnight. So, and I did go to bed a little early, so I got about 2.5, 3 hours sleep last night. Do I sound well rested? Absolutely, because the 2.5 to 3 hours sleep I got were well rested sleep, sleeping on the premium MyPillow with the Giza cover that I am right now holding in my arms. This is great. I mean, that's how good it is, because that patented fill keeps your head and neck in place so you don't toss and turn at night. Order yours. Regular price $69.98, but without promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E, just $19.98, less than $20, and it'll change your life. Go to MyPillow.com and use our promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E, and get the best night's sleep you've ever gotten every night for the rest of your life. It's the Steve Kane Show. My name is Brian Craig. We'll be right back. We'll be back in about 35 seconds. If you're on hold, stand by. If you'd like to call in, the number is pinned in the live chat. And of course, if you are new, make sure you subscribe. We're back. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show. We've covered a lot, and Steve will be joining us in the next hour. I'll recap some things with him. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. Once, twice. All right.
Hello?
Oh, you just made it. Yes. You're on the air. You called me. Yeah, what's on your mind? Really?
Hi.
Yes. Are you okay?
Donald Trump sucks.
Really?
That guy.
Why? What sucks about Donald Trump? Could you be more specific?
Fuck you.
There we go. All right. Second dump of the day. All right. See, he didn't think that far ahead. He thought, second dump of the day, Mike. We're going to keep track this week of how many times we hit the dump button. And he thought that if you're on hold, stand by. I'm waiting for the delay to re-engage. He thought when he said Donald Trump sucks that I would hang up on him. So he didn't think beyond that. Like, he couldn't tell me one thing that would back up his ridiculous charge. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Delay, re-engage. Where are you calling from?
Steve from Boulder.
Hey, Steve. Hold on, Steve. Hold on a second here. Hold on. I just want to make sure. Yes, it is. Okay, hold on. All right, sorry. I just wanted to make sure the delay was re-engaged, and indeed it is. Hey, Steve from Boca. I know I'm not going to have to use the dump button for you. No profanity from you, right?
No, but
What's on your mind? You called
glad
me.
to talk to you, Brian.
Yes.
I tell you, Brian, the country, the Republicans need to play offense, not defense. I want to talk about Harvard for a minute. I think Harvard is a breeding ground for terrorism.
Well,
I think they are.
It's a couple of things, okay? Harvard, well, finish your thought, then I'll tell you. I'll respond.
Yeah, they are, because of their lack of action in stopping anti-Semitism, that it's becoming very acceptable.
Okay,
Now,
well, okay. Harvard is a bunch of things, okay? It's a liberal indoctrination center. It's a brainwashing, anti-Semitic institution. There's no doubt about that. And it's also a spy school. That's why they have so many Chinese students and everything there. It's a spy school. But you know, I've been on the air. By the way, are you a Jew?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, and I ask it. You know, I've been on the air 1 hour and 50 minutes. Right? We're covering this god awful terrorist attack in Boulder, Colorado. I've been talking to Democrats all morning. None of them would condemn or have even attempted to condemn this act of terrorism where this Islamic terrorist was setting Jews on fire. I asked them, and then they're like, well, but Israel this, or the Klan this, or Trump that. They think it's okay what this guy did. And, you know, we had pretty much eradicated anti-Semitism in this country, but it's back pretty hardcore, isn't it?
Yeah. You're wonderful, and I just want to try to make this one point, and I'll be as brief and concise as I can. Harvard sues the government when the government does something that Harvard doesn't like regarding anti-Semitism. Well, what we should do is turn the tables. A, the government should sue Harvard, and they should have a class action suit giving every Jewish family who is afraid to send their child to Harvard because they're fearful that something's going to happen to them if they do. Every Jewish family that wants to participate in a class action suit should do so and have that lawsuit in a Republican conservative state like Florida and have Harvard be sued. Conceivably, if you had 10 or 20,000 Jewish people, 50,000 Jewish people $2
Well,
trillion.
you know, the thing, I don't know about, I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but, you know, what's going on at Harvard, sadly, is happening at schools of all levels throughout our country. I would like to see the Justice Department declare Harvard to be a hate organization. I mean, it's a school that teaches hatred of Jews, hardcore. And, you know, and it's not just Harvard, it's other schools. I mean, look at Columbia and what's going on there. You know, it used to be required reading the Diary of Anne Frank. They probably replaced it with, you know, some transgendered thing. But we have a bunch of Anne Franks in this country right now, Jewish students at American universities who are trying to pass as anything but a Jew. They're not wearing their Stars of David or anything that would indicate they're a Jew because they're afraid. And they have good reason. Look what just happened in D.C. 2 weeks ago. Look at what just happened here in Boulder. You know, I mean, look at this idiot, this police chief would not call it an act of terrorism. You got a man yelling, "Free Palestine," and "Death to the Zionists," who's lighting Jews on fire, and he won't call it terrorism. I mean, what the hell? You know what? This is all Obama and his doing. I'm here to tell you.
But the beauty of a class action suit is that the negative publicity that would be involved with that, where the media, as much as they wouldn't want to talk about it, they would talk about it, because if they would talk, and Harvard would not like that.
The problem with the lawsuit is there's two problems with the lawsuit. One, it's federal, and federal things aren't televised, so we would never see it. And second, that takes too long. It takes too long.
The fact that it takes too long is good. The fact that it takes too long is good.
Okay.
Because it's out there for a long time.
It's a good idea. It's an idea. All right. Hey, Stephen Boke, I appreciate the call. All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Plymouth, Massachusetts.
All right. What's on your mind? We're looking. Well, by the way, I'm looking for the first Democrat to condemn the terrorism in Boulder. So if you're a Democrat and you want to condemn the Islamic terrorism in Boulder yesterday, give me a call. There hasn't been a single one. All right, what's on your mind, caller?
I just want to discuss immigration.
Well, we had an illegal commit this terrorism yesterday, so it's very relevant.
Well, I have a big problem with illegals. Okay, and just like that, it's all over the news about that high school kid in Medford that they arrested. Okay, I'm a first generation, okay, in this country. My father and my grandfather are both immigrants. They came to this country legally. It took them 12 years to come here legally. Okay, they wouldn't have done it any other way. Okay, and these people, they feel like they have every right to come here and do what they want, okay? And they feel like that it's okay and our laws mean nothing, you know? And we're supposed to feel bad for him. You know, it's...
We're supposed to feel bad for who? Who are we supposed to feel bad for?
We're supposed to feel bad for this kid that they arrested.
Oh.
This 18-year-old kid.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just, we have so much going on that the people that we're letting in this country.
Well, I saw yesterday, I can't remember where this was, but there was a judge had ordered the deportation of a woman over the weekend. And he said most of these people they're deporting have criminal records. That's why they're here. They're hiding out from the law back in their home country. And you know, we've been saying, and Republicans, President Trump and other Republicans have been saying for years that Islamic terrorists are sneaking through this illegal immigration. Here we have one. This guy in Boulder, you know, because
there's a lot more than we could even
imagine. If you're Muslim and you shave your beard and you put on some Wrangler jeans and a cowboy shirt, dress Tex-Mex, you look Mexican, right? So you know, and this guy came through with the illegal immigration surge under Biden, and look what he did. He set Jews on fire. Yeah,
absolutely.
But illegal immigration into the country has virtually been shut down, and President Trump is amping up deportations to a level that's never been seen in this country before.
And what he's doing is right. What he's doing is right, and continue to do what he has to do. He needs to make this country a safe place again.
If Joe Biden would have finished the wall and continued the Bush policies, this terrorist act would not have happened yesterday in Colorado.
The Democrats they want immigration. They want as many people in here. They don't care about their criminal record, nothing. They just want them in here because they're hoping that eventually someday they can vote for them.
Yeah. What the Democrats have done, David Hogg, who's just a narcissist, doesn't understand anything. The Democrats, what their platform has been is they've sat around and said, you know what? The reason we're losing elections isn't our ideas. It's just there's too many white people. So they brought in tens of millions of people that aren't white to replace us, and then they figured, okay, we'll gain power again when we reduce the number of when the white majority is no longer a majority. That's the Democrat strategy, and that's it.
They've been going after low income areas. The Democrats have been having control of the low income areas, and they realized that that's not enough for them.
Well, listen, I gotta run for our break, but I appreciate the call. If you're on hold, stand by. I want to talk about Friendly Tire in Margate. At Friendly Tire in Margate, you can get new tires out the door and on the road for as low as $70 a tire. And when I say out the door and on the road, when you call Friendly Mike at Friendly Tire, I'm going to give you the number in a moment, so get something to write it down. When you call Friendly Tire and get a quote over the phone, when I say out the door and on the road, what that means is this. The price that Mike quotes you, that's it. He doesn't charge you to balance the tire, mount the tire, or even dispose of your old tires, okay? So the price he quotes you on the phone is out the door and on the road. Isn't that absolutely amazing? Give him a call, and you can get tires for any type of car. If you have a Tesla, oh man, he's got the equipment you need to do those Tesla tires. He also does tire repairs. 954-977-9445. 954-977-9445 for Friendly Tire in Margate. All right, 2 hours down, 1 to go. We'll be back right after this break. Hey there. All right, good. Hold on. Hold on, and then I'll pull you on the speaker. Hold on. All right, you there, Steve?
I'm here.
All right. Let me check the clock. Okay, we got 2 minutes.
Okay. I got a thing for you.
Okay. Okay, 1 minute. Are you there, Steve?
I'm here.
All right, stand by. 30 seconds. Oh. The third hour has begun. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio. I'm Brian Craig. Steve Kane joining us. Hey, Steve.
40 years. Who's counting?
48, yeah. 49 in August. So but you said, yeah.
Just yesterday.
That's right.
Anyway, I have a question for you. I was reading my paper over the weekend, and I mean, on the issue of the students and all that. Like, obviously, the president is tuned in. He's got the right idea, and he's taking the proper action. But I read something that disturbed me in the paper, and I thought of you right away. This thing about Pete Diddy. You've been following the Pete Diddy trial?
A little bit.
Well, an interesting thing happened over there. I wasn't that drawn to it. And then the thing happened over the weekend. Donald told the press at one of the many press conferences he holds, much to his credit, that he's been approached, or that there were people getting ready to approach him, I think is the phrase he used, about a pardon for P. Diddy.
Yes.
Which, for those that don't know, I can't believe anybody hasn't heard about it. It's this horrible sex thing this jerk was involved in. And Donald said he would consider it, that he knew that they were getting ready to approach him, and he would consider it at the time, that he was considering doing it. That would be a horrible, horrible choice on his part. I can't believe he would make it. But if he did, would be in favor of that or against it?
No, I'm not in favor of pardoning P. Diddy. And President Trump was just, being polite, and act as if there's due diligence on the pardon. Anybody can request a pardon. You can.
No, you didn't get my question right. What I'm saying is, I know, I agree it would be a mistake. Are you saying if he does it, you'd say it was a mistake?
Unless there's some, well, first off, I don't think he's going to do it, but I think that if he were to do it, there would probably be some factor that you and I aren't familiar with that would justify him doing it. That he would make us, I don't know. I said something we don't know about. He would, if he were to do it, he would tell us why. He wouldn't just do it. But he's not going to pardon him. He's not going to pardon him.
We don't know that. Then why didn't he just come out and say no?
Because he wants to show that anyone can make a pardon request, right? Anyone, no matter what, right?
That's not the question.
So he wants. No, I'm answering. No, I am answering your question. So he wants. There's a whole department that handles the pardons at the Justice Department, and then there's a process. And he just wants people to know that when there's pardon requests, that there's due process. It goes through a process, and they look at all and consider everything. But it doesn't mean you're going to get it.
Well, I understand that, but he didn't shoot down the idea. When I asked the question, it seemed like a fairly black and white question. And the reason I ask you the question is because it's one of those things that's, in my opinion, a no-brainer. Of course, you wouldn't want to pardon P. Diddy.
He's not going to pardon P. Diddy.
You don't know that.
If
But
he
if he
did,
does-
if he did, there would be there would be a reason
Let
that.
me reword the question.
Yeah.
So if he does pardon P. Diddy, you would say it was a mistake.
No, I would not.
Why would that be other than?
Because it's very unlike you to talk about such a hypothetical. I don't know. I never remember you ever doing this ever. No, not like this. If he's not going to pardon him, but if he did, there would be a very good reason that he would tell us about.
So what you're saying is, even if he made an outrageous decision like that, because we all agree it's ridiculous, but if he did make it, you'd find a way to say it's okay.
No, if he did do it, he would say, I am doing this because I learned something, and he would tell us what that was, and we would say, oh, okay, I understand. Okay.
It would make sense.
Yeah, but these people that he pardoned last week were as guilty as sin. Most people that are pardoned are guilty. I don't know of any innocent people that have been pardoned. No, I don't think there's. No, I don't see any scenario where he pardons P. Diddy.
But if he does, you wouldn't say that was dumb.
If he did it, he would have a very good reason that he would explain to us as to why he was doing it. So and I'm sure it would be a good reason. I'd say, okay.
I can't think of a good reason.
No, that's why it's not going to happen. But you're coming up with this crazy hypothetical. I have never known you to ask such a crazy hypothetical, especially. You're trying to get me. You've been doing this for the last.
It's a very simple question.
For the last week.
It's a very simple question. The answer to the question is, it would be crazy if he pardoned P. Diddy. It would be
based on what we know about it, yeah. But if he did it, there'd be a good reason.
So, because he never makes mistakes?
President Trump, I don't know of any mistake he's made, other than picking Pence as his running mate.
Well, I think that's basically the point I was trying to make. So
no, but he didn't know. He talked about this when he got elected the first time. He didn't know a lot of people in Washington. He didn't know who to hire and who he could trust and not trust. Now he knows. That's why he has such a loyal cabinet now. But no, I don't. He would give us a good reason if he did it. But I mean But the people that he pardoned last week were guilty. That sheriff and that reality TV show couple, they did all those things.
Well, then why don't you just say I wouldn't be outraged if
well, their crimes were financial crimes, both of them, right? Like the sheriff was accused of giving a donor an auxiliary sheriff's position or something like that. So, it's just, but P. Diddy involves sex crime allegations. Although I haven't been following the case. You probably have because it involves sex, But the few times I've heard it in the news, it's been prostitutes. And I don't know how credible prostitute testimony is in a case like this. I don't know. It seems, I don't know.
So you're pleading ignorance.
No, I'm not pleading. I just haven't been following the P. Diddy case. First off, federal trials, since they're not televised, they're not as much fun to... OJ was such a phenomenon because it was televised. If that was the same thing with the Menendez brothers. When high-profile trials are on TV, everybody follows everything. But federal courts aren't on TV, so it's
I mean, I'm just kind of curious how the audience feels about it, and whether I can't think of a conceivable reason that Trump would do it.
But the thing, no, I can't either.
It would be a dreadful mistake.
Now, Tiger King, I wouldn't if he pardoned the Tiger King, I wouldn't be so upset about that. That guy got a raw deal.
Well, it's a different case.
Yeah, but that involves hiring a hitman or something, right? But yeah. But the Tiger King, I wouldn't be upset if he pardoned the Tiger. But the thing with P. Diddy, I mean, that's such an outlandish, it's such a crazy hypothetical. I mean, it's just, I mean, you would.
Crazy hypothetical.
Yeah.
What could happen?
Well, you think he would do it? I'm sure you agree that he would.
I think if he did, see, I'll speak directly and give you a straight answer. If he did it, it would be a dreadful mistake, period.
Unless there was something we don't know about that he shared with us.
I can't think of anything that would make it a smart move.
I can't either. That's why I don't think it's going to happen. But you know, the last week, you've been like trying to get me to say something negative about Trump pretty bad.
Because I'm trying to make a point to you that your mind is kind of closed.
I'll never be critical of President Trump. No, never going to happen. I've been saying that for 10 years.
Your saving grace is you admit your bias.
I've been telling you that for 10 years. I'll never criticize or disagree with President Trump. And that doesn't mean that he's done things that I think he should be criticized for. This second term has been going perfect. Everything he's doing is awesome.
Well, I'm a big fan of President
Listen,
Trump.
this is the thing, Steve. They shot.
I can't think of a mistake he's made, but if he made one, I wouldn't be afraid to say it.
Since he hasn't made one, I haven't had that experience yet. You know, listen, everything that he's doing is why they shot him in Butler. They shot him in Butler to try to stop him from doing everything he's doing now. So I think he has earned our loyalty. Right?
I think he has. I think he has my loyalty. But again, it goes back to that one line that last time we discussed this. There's a difference between having faith in somebody, especially in politics.
Yeah.
There's a difference between having faith and having blind faith. And you.
Oh, I would trust. And you guys.
For example, how do you feel that it came out over the weekend, but you didn't watch Mark Levin, right?
Oh no.
No.
What came out over the weekend? Well, listen, Steve. Tell me after the break, okay? We're up against a break. Tell me after the break, okay? Because we're late for the break, and I want to tell people about Jupiter Joe Thomas. And the reason he calls himself Jupiter Joe. There's two reasons why I make a big deal that it's Jupiter Joe Thomas, okay? One, just from a marketing aspect, it makes it, his website is jupiterjoe.com, so it makes it easier to remember the website. But those who live in South Florida understand what Jupiter is, okay? Jupiter is where Tiger Woods lives. Jupiter is where the elite live, okay? And if someone lives and works in Jupiter, that's the kind of person you want to take financial advice from, okay? Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's a big deal. And living and working in Jupiter tells you all you need to know. I should just give out the phone number after that. But Joe Thomas, he's a top man in the industry. He has been for over 30 years helping people with their retirement planning. And he's a 5-time qualifying member of the $1 Million Roundtable, which is achieved by fewer than 1% of all financial advisors on the planet Earth. He's a top man in the industry. He's offering you a free consultation, which you can take advantage of no matter where you're located, all right? So give him a call. I'm going to give you the number. Call him. Talk to him about annuities. With annuities, you're not going to lose any money. The stock market crashes. Your money is safe, that you worked hard for all your life, and you're guaranteed an income stream for the rest of your life. And after you take advantage of that free phone consultation, Jupiter Joe Thomas is going to put together a custom proposal just for you, based on your situation and your goals. Here's the number, 561-743-0999, 561-743-0999. And you can find his phone number on his website, jupiterjoe.com. We'll be right back. All right, Steve, you there?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Okay, I'm going to put you on hold for a minute. Hold on. All right, you there?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Less than a minute.
Okay.
We're back. Callers on hold, stand by. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. Steve's on, of course, and my name's Brian. And Steve, this is like becoming a quest with you. You're becoming like obsessed with trying to get me to criticize Trump.
Just wanted to bring us up to date with where we were when we took the break.
Yeah.
DeSantis was also in the news over the weekend. It seems that, in fact, increasingly in the news on Fox this weekend was news that Iran pretty well has the bomb now, and they're ready to go. It's very scary, very scary. And again, DeSantis is warning the president that it's time to move.
Well, you know, Ron DeSantis, who destroyed his political career by betraying Trump, okay, and all of us who voted for him, what about all
of us that could die in a nuclear holocaust?
Well, I'm going to tell you, you can't trust DeSantis. First off, Steve, DeSantis, his lieutenant governor, is leaving him to be the president of Florida International University. So she's abandoning ship, and he's getting to that point where he's like, oh man, I'm term limited out of office. My term's almost over. I'm unelectable. What am I going to do?
Maybe DeSantis on this issue is right. Maybe Mark Levin is right. Maybe everybody who's screaming about this is right.
Mark Levin, I'll tell you about him in a minute, but Ron DeSantis is auditioning for a job with the military-industrial complex when he leaves office because he has no political future ahead of him. No one can trust him.
So that means that we're safe from Iran.
No, listen. I am a strong supporter of Israel. Okay.
You're a strong supporter of the president, which is good.
But I don't. But Netanyahu, President Trump's pretty ticked off at Netanyahu, and told him not to act. And I found something out about Netanyahu over the weekend that one of the big online podcasters, Tim Pool, he has a pretty big following. He was invited to a private meeting with a bunch of other influencers like him. He wouldn't say who the other ones were because it was a private meeting. Netanyahu was there, and Netanyahu spent that private meeting trying to convince them that he was right about Iran. And
but he doesn't agree with Trump.
No, and then over the weekend, I heard Netanyahu's wife on Fox interviewed. Was it McEnany that interviewed? I heard somebody interview Netanyahu's wife. Netanyahu is on a big campaign swing right now, PR swing, I should say, courting members of the media to try to get them to publicly come out and endorse the starting the Third World War. You know, didn't you see what's going on with Russia and Ukraine? That's about to break out in a huge European conflict.
That's another problem.
No, it's the how many fronts? How many fronts in a war do you want? We got Iran, we got Russia, and Ukraine. I mean, my goodness. Why don't we just start one with China too? Israel's fine, Steve. If Trump says bomb Iran, he'll know. He'll say, okay, they're close.
Netanyahu is saying it's time to take
I don't
out their nukes.
I don't trust Netanyahu.
You don't trust anybody with the president.
Well, who would you trust more, President Trump or Netanyahu? I trust Trump over Netanyahu.
I don't say that. I don't take a position that the president is automatic. I have more respect for the president than you can imagine, but I don't take a position he's automatic.
Well, I know that Netanyahu's been courting Ben Shapiro, I found out over the weekend, and I would not be surprised if he's doing the same thing with Mark Levin. And that's why Mark Levin, every show is about World War. And I love what these guys that want to go to war but don't go. What are they called? Chicken hawks?
They want to go to war. They want to prevent a war.
Oh, please! That starts the war. We got all these chicken hawks that want to send they want to send your kid off to war while they're sitting here on the beach in Florida.
At least I have a kid that's in service. For heaven's sakes, and believe me, I'm sensitive to it.
Yeah, but Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro are like us. They're in the sun. They're in the sunny South Florida, right? So, and they're not sending anybody off to war in their circle. It's very nice of these chicken hawks. At least you got some skin in the game.
Wait a minute. See, this is an example of how you let your emotions carry you away. How is it sending my son to war by preventing Iran from nuking Israel?
Well, because Steve, you don't want to listen. What's going on with Russia and Ukraine is about to spiral out of control. It could go either way. That war has escalated to an insane level over the weekend. And
you're saying you'd rather see them nuke Israel than nuke us.
If they're about to nuke Israel, Trump would intervene before they did.
What would you is that on?
He's the most pro-Israeli president we've ever seen. He moved the embassy to Jerusalem. We know this.
Would Netanyahu agree with that?
I think Netanyahu, who's been prime minister off and on since Clinton, right? He's wanted to take Iran out for decades, and I think he believes this is the last time he's going to be prime minister, and he's trying to do it on his way out. I don't think you can trust Netanyahu.
All right,
and I think Israel is obviously spending a lot of money, or Netanyahu, I should say, because I support Israel, but Netanyahu's spending a lot of money trying to get media people to, promote the start of the Third World War.
To discount everybody who disagrees with
Well, no, but I know that he's had private meetings with a whole bunch of influencers, because Tim Pool let it out of the bag over the weekend to try to get them to start talking about bombing Iran and how good it is to do that.
I think if you turn on Fox over the weekend, you would have said...
Well, they may have been some of the ones that have been courted at these events. Listen, we got to take our break for the bottom of the hour, so call is on hold. You stand by. We will get to the calls after the break, all right? Steve Kane is here. I'm Brian Craig. I'm going to put you on hold, Steve. And our number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. You know, I want to tell you guys about Dr. Philip Appleton and his laser away pain treatment. I mean, here we are. Monday, the weekend's over, and you might have been a little busy over the weekend, being a little more active. Maybe you're at that pickleball court or doing work around the house, and you woke up today and you're in pain. Go see Dr. Appleton and talk to him about his laser away pain treatment. You know, appointments are not necessary. Walk-ins are welcome, even on Mondays, right, when you wake up with all those aches and pains. He's rid me of pain 7 times. The first time was almost 3 years ago when he rid me of knee pain. And you know what? All 7 times, including the first time 3 years ago come August, that he's rid me of pain with the laser away pain treatment, the pain has not returned because the laser treatment repairs the damage that's causing the pain. There's no shots or injections, no drugs, no surgery, no downtime. It's 100% painless. You don't even feel it when it's happening. Dr. Appleton performs all the laser treatments himself. Give him a call and say bye-bye to your pain. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonCairo.com. We'll be right back. Steve, are you there?
Yes, sir.
All right, hold on. Okay, 1 minute. We'll be back. All right, 10 seconds. We are back. You're listening to the Steve Kane Show. I'm Brian Craig. Steve Kane is here. Do you want to take some calls, Steve? What do you want to do?
Yes, let's do that. But I want to hear where the public is.
That's right. The jury of public opinion. All right, our number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631. You're welcome to call in about anything we brought up since 6. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning.
Yep, you're on the air.
Can you hear me? Hey.
I
Good
can.
morning, Mega Fam. IB.
Hey.
You two are cracking me up going in circles. I'll be the referee. Until Trump does something that Brian will disapprove of, it has to happen in the future. And for you, Steve, when Trump reveals, if he pardons P. Diddy, when he reveals the reason, maybe that reason is more important than what all the sexual escapades P. Diddy had. Perhaps
That's fair enough.
someone
Give me a
was caught.
hypothetical so I can understand.
I was
somebody
just
qualified.
I was just going to do that. I was just going to do that. Let's say in his sexual escapade, there were people of importance in positions of power that can sway decisions in Congress. The scenario is.
I want you to answer my question. Give me a hypothetical example of what you're saying. Somebody else that would.
P. Diddy releases names of people in power that Trump can then use to further the agenda of America because maybe it's better for the people. That information is better for the people and America.
You did a good job. I understand. So in other words, this is too good as blackmail material to waste on anything else, right?
You even said the word better than me. Trump would have blackmail material. Exactly. Well, I didn't think of it in the way of blackmail, but
maybe he can get a bigger.
I like that. I like that. Exactly. So P. Diddy is a little pissed. He's a little pissed, and we will have information that is more important.
That's okay.
So I agree with you and Brian.
You're turning P. Diddy into an Epstein type person. This isn't Jeffrey Epstein.
He is that. He trafficked kids across country. State borderline.
Well, Megyn Kelly did a really good program about the Bongino Cash Patel interviews, about how they looked like scared stiff. And Megyn Kelly is in the. I like Megyn Kelly, and she's in the inner circle. You know, a lot of the people in her circle are in Trump's circle. Megyn Kelly. And she thinks that he was working, that she said this on her show this week, that the reason Bongino and Cash Patel aren't talking, and she said they look cagey, that was her word. And she says they look cagey because Jeffrey Epstein was working for the United States intelligence agencies. And, and I think she's right about that. A lot of people say, but I don't think P. Diddy's been working for the CIA or the NSA. I think he's just been working on his sexual I think he's just a pervert.
But you still made a connection just there. You just used P. Diddy and Epstein in the same sentence. Therefore, the information could be so valuable for the beneficial of America and the people. And who cares about P. Diddy? Let him get pardoned. Hey,
let him get pardoned.
People bombed. Biden pardoned people bombed and killed people.
Let me tell you what the problem with your thinking. First of all, there's no reason good enough for him to pardon P. Diddy because the loss he would experience nationwide in terms of credibility wouldn't pay him to do it to destroy it. It would destroy. I mean, I don't know. Totally destroy him.
That is exactly the focal point. That is exactly the focal point. The people must accept the reason why he would do it.
All right. Appreciate the call. I don't think I've seen some of the people that they've been talking about. I haven't heard any names that sound like government people, right? I've seen a lot of I don't know, a lot of names, celebrities thrown around that I don't really care so much about, Our number's 888-465-2631. Can we talk a little bit, though, about this terrorist attack on the Jews, Steve, in Boulder, if you don't mind?
Well, if you don't want to take any more calls?
We'll take some more calls on this, yeah, but I got to answer a few of them first. But
why are you behind?
Oh, I don't think you could say I'm behind. I'm not behind.
No,
neither of us are.
Just if you want to quit, you look anxious to change the subject.
No, I just think it's a big news story that we should mention. We've had two Islamic terror attacks in the homeland in 2 weeks, right? The Israeli embassy workers who were murdered in D.C. and now this in Boulder. And this one in Boulder, my goodness. You've seen what happened. It was a group of Jews.
Sure, this guy on the front page of the Post?
Yeah, the illegal immigrant from Egypt. He's an Islamic terrorist.
Yeah, doesn't look like he's missed a lot of meals either.
No, he does. Well, yeah, we've probably been feeding him. We've been paying it all. He made those Molotov cocktails probably with EBT money that Biden had been giving him. But this one was one of the most horrific terror attacks in the homeland I've ever seen. First off, it's deep inside our country in Boulder, Colorado, not in one of the liberal cities. And he was lighting Jews on fire, elderly people just meeting at a nice, just a group to support the release of hostages. And I was talking earlier, there have not been a lot of demonstrations for Israel. And the reason that is Jews are scared. And they've got good reason to be scared. Our phones are ringing off. I'm going to answer these calls, and then we'll start taking them. But Jews, Steve, have good reason to be scared. And I would recommend not going to pro-Israel demonstrations anywhere in the United States right now because they're under attack. All right, you want to take some calls now, Steve? What do you want to do?
I think you're having a break.
No, we got time for a break. We got time for a call or two. Okay, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, that's Dave in Virginia.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah, Brian, I thought they brought back the death penalty for acts of terrorism. Shouldn't he be tried for that?
This guy should not be in the custody of the Boulder Police Department. He should be in either Gitmo or El Salvador. He should be in the custody of Homeland Security. This guy.
Right. That's what I thought. They should. It's a
but when's the last time that they've executed?
That.
When's the last time they've executed somebody for that? I mean,
it's been a while, but I thought they brought back for act of terrorism. You can get the death penalty. I thought they brought that back.
Well, terrorism. No one died in this instance yet. That unless they passed while we've been on the air, and I missed it. But there's been no murder with it, so you might have a difficult time with But the controversy with it, is the Boulder Police Department won't call it terrorism. He's yelling death to the Zionist, free Palestine, as he's setting Jews on fire, and they won't say it. And he's Muslim from Egypt, and they won't call it terrorism.
Right. Yeah, they should. I think he should get the full extent of the law, and he should be down in Gitmo.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd send him to El Salvador. I think he would like Gitmo better than the El Salvador prison myself.
Well, I'll
yeah. All right. That means that you gave me the out, Steve. Yeah. All right. Our today I have in studio with me one of my favorite things in the whole wide world. It's my premium My Pillow, and this is the pillow I slept on last night, Steve. And the premium My Pillow. I have the queen size. And it has the Giza cotton cover on it. And that Giza cotton, Steve, keeps your head and neck the perfect temperature all night long, all year long, especially in these hot summer months we're in. It's like in the 90s at night, right? Not for me. It's like having air conditioning in your pillow. You're like, it's absolutely amazing. And the premium My Pillow for those that don't know, you have your standard My Pillow that started it all with Mike Lindell. But the premium My Pillow that has the Giza cotton cover, this is the luxury My Pillow. These are the ones they have at Mar-a-Lago and in the fine hotel rooms, okay? It's got the Giza cotton, it's got the piping on the side of it. And the regular price for this is $69.98. But with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, it's less than $20, just $19.98. And I know a lot of people out there think they got a good night's sleep. You have not had a good night's sleep unless you've been sleeping on a My Pillow. And if you slept on the regular My Pillow, that's great and all. I had that for many years. But the premium My Pillow that I sleep on now, this is the best. And last night, Steve, I had to get up at midnight. We thought one of our cats escaped, and one of my daughter's cats at that. So it would have been amazing. The cat did not escape, but I got about 2.5 hours sleep last night. Do I sound like I'm tired at all? I mean,
you sound great.
I sound great because the 2.5 hours of sleep I got were on this premium My Pillow with the Giza cotton cover. So that 2.5 hours sleep I got was well-rested deep sleep. It's amazing. 2.5 hours is like 5 or 6 hours with the premium My Pillow. So go to mypillow.com.
What's the number?
I'm giving it now. Go to mypillow.com. Use our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, and order yours. All right. Okay, I'll take another call, Steve, and then before the gold report. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, Jay from Jersey.
Oh, hey, Jay, turn down the volume in the background.
I I just did.
Okay.
I'm going to see if you're going to let me explain why people are being so cold-hearted. Now, I'm going to start off with, I don't believe in what that man did over in Colorado. You don't burn up.
Why do you say they cold-hearted? Explain that. I want to understand your position. I have an open mind, so tell me what you mean by people are being so cold-hearted.
Oh, because he was saying he couldn't get a Democrat to say that what went on in Colorado was wrong. But I wanted to explain why people feel a certain way. So I started off with saying...
I appreciate you.
You're talking about the Muslim that was lighting Jews on fire in Boulder?
Yeah,
okay.
Don't nobody supposed to do no crazy mess like that. That's what I'm saying. That's starting off. But you said, why do people feel that way? I do not feel that way, but I have a sense of why people have no sort of feeling towards Jews. Now, let me finish.
Okay, go ahead.
Over in Israel and over in Palestine, right now, the Hamas went over to Israel and killed and raped a bunch of people. Let's just put it, I'm just going to give numbers, not the right numbers. 1,000 people. They went over there and they did that. That was wrong. But then Israel turned around and killed 500,000 people. Right. And got all the people starving and all the little babies laying on the ground dead. They don't have no food. They destroyed every building in the whole entire country. And then y'all have no sort of feeling about how all them Palestinians are laying there dying and starving from food and no water. Y'all have no feeling.
So what does that have to do with the Jews of Boulder, Colorado at the senior school?
Wait a minute, though.
They're not Israelis.
Listen, I'm saying the whole thing needs to start. But you have no feeling of those kids, those Palestinian kids, do you? You have no feeling for them?
One wrong does not justify another.
Do you have any feeling?
Yes, that's why President Trump gave them food and other humanitarian supplies over the weekend.
You know what? Yes, he did. And that's the one thing I can mention and say the man did. They got some food over there.
But listen, I didn't hear. I don't hear passionate condemnation of the burning of the Jews in Boulder. You just said it so you can get credit for it.
Wait a minute.
You said, yeah, that was a bad. What you said was this. Okay. Now, first off, Steve, you went to that fancy Riverdale country school. So your vocabulary and use of the American language is Shakespearean, a little better than mine, who went to Stranahan High School in Fort Lauderdale. Jay said they ain't got no food. Is that a double negative, meaning that they have an abundance of food? I'm a little confused. So I'm unsure what Jay meant.
Oh, don't be an ignorant jerk.
Okay.
Okay, don't be an ignorant jerk.
But what you said was But this is what you said.
Who's talking about a negative? You're talking about a word that's wrong when people just got burnt up.
You said,
why would you do that?
You said, I don't support what happened in Colorado, but in Israel they did this to the Palestinians, and then I hear passion. You only want
to look at one side of things. You only want to look at one side.
What side? Excuse me. What side? You said only one side. What side is it okay to burn Jewish senior citizens in Boulder? What side is that?
Okay. What side is it to starve a whole entire country?
Oh my goodness. Gaza's not a country. Listen, we got to break. We got to break. No, we got to break. No, next time. All right, Steve, I'm going to put you on hold so I can get hold of William Youngerman with the first gold report of the week, all right? All right, so you hang in there, Steve Kane. We'll be right back. Hey, William, hold on. Steve, you there?
Yeah.
Okay, stand by. Yeah, we're going to get the gold report in a minute. Hold on. I got William on hold, so stand by.
can't hear anything.
Okay, hold on. Hold on. Okay, how about now, Steve?
I can hear you now.
Okay, stand by.
Can I hear the go report?
You will when we go to it. Got about 40 seconds. Okay, I'm going to conference him in now. All right, William, we have about 30 seconds.
Okay.
All right, we are back, and I'm Brian. Steve Kane is here, and it's time to check in with William Youngerman from the offices of William Youngerman Incorporated in Boca with the first look at gold and the other precious metals for the week. William Youngerman, how are the metals looking today?
Metals are looking very good. The pullbacks have been short and sweet, and throughout this bull market, we've seen that they don't last very long, but they do give us once in a while a buying opportunity. Such was the case on Friday when gold dropped $28.90, closing out the week at $3,288.30 the ounce. Silver was down 34 cents at $32.96. Platinum was down $31 at $1,052, and palladium closed down $3 at $957. As I said, those pullbacks are short-lived, and gold up right now $73.70 the ounce. That's $3,362 an ounce right now.
Wow.
Again, finding strong support around that $3,300 number. Silver up 74 cents at $33.70 the ounce. Platinum down $7 at $1,045, and palladium up $18 at $975. So the markets, again, like I said, we see pullbacks, but they don't last very long. So you got to take advantage of those dips when they do happen. But it gives you another example of a drop on Friday of $28 or $29, and then we recover $73.70
wow.
this morning already.
That's amazing.
So
that's amazing.
This market is looking like it still wants to go much higher, and like the old saying is, it's not easy to ride a bull. So these ups and downs do get people nervous, and panic sellers come in, but the major buyers are taking advantage of that and scarfing up every time it makes a dip.
Yeah, when it comes to the metals, there's nothing to me, I'm not the expert you are, but there's nothing ever to worry about with the metals. And I think maybe what happens sometimes, because we're in these great numbers now, over 3,300, that we just get, as someone involved in the metals, you've got to get used to bigger swings each way than we would get in the past. When gold was $1,700, you wouldn't have a $75 swing that often, or even a $25. So I guess people just got to get used to those swings.
Yep, that's a fact.
Yeah.
Because percentage-wise, they really aren't that much when you look at the percentage.
No. No, not at all. Well, listen, William Youngerman opens up at 10 a.m. You can stop in at 150 East Palmetto Park Road in Boca on the first floor of the Bank of America building, immediately east of US 1 Federal Highway on the south side of Palmetto Park Road. His number, 1-800-327-5010, 1-800-327-5010. And find both his phone number and address online at williamyoungerman.com. All right, William Youngerman, we're starting the week off great. Look forward to speaking tomorrow.
Okay, and reminding everybody everything is in stock for immediate delivery. And we also, if you're traveling while the kids are out of school, we have our foreign exchange department deals in 60 different cash currencies from all over the world. So you can pick up anything you may need at our offices.
Oh, yeah, and also, if you have some foreign currency left over from a trip, you can turn that into dollars as well, or the metals, right?
Yes, indeed.
All right, all right, William, take care. We'll talk tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, Steve, you want to go back to the phones?
Yeah.
All right, let's go. All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Denise, and I'm calling right outside of in a small town outside of Colorado Springs.
Okay.
And I just want to tell you, when we first heard about this awful incident in Boulder, we weren't surprised. We're not surprised when we hear about things in Aurora. And as long as we have Polis in the office, it just continues. And there's just not enough of us Republicans here in this state to get him out.
Well, we have a lot of listeners in Colorado, and on our cruises we do every year, we've got a huge group of people that come every year from Colorado, and it's a big old state. But Boulder, every state that, like even here in Florida, we're as red as it gets, but we've got some liberal areas. Steve and I both live. President Trump in Palm Beach, hardcore Democrat stronghold in Florida, and that's where the president lives. But I was watching before I went on the air today, local news online out of Colorado, and it's all liberal news, but everything I've seen is very accurate reporting out of Colorado on this Islamic terror attack. There's the police chief can't call it terrorism because he's a liberal lunatic.
Right.
But the news in Colorado has been calling it out.
But we're not surprised by it. As long as you have a governor who comes out and really doesn't say too much about it, who's trying to take your Second Amendment rights, and it's just, you hear it and you move on.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. These last.
I have a Jewish family. I have a Jewish family that lives next to me.
Yeah.
Now they're scared.
Yeah, they should be.
Come out of their home.
Yeah, they should be. I don't blame them.
They rarely come out of their home. Now, where I live, we're surrounded by military bases. And so we do have a lot more conservative people in
but that doesn't offer you protection. Remember Fort Hood?
No.
And I got to tell, I don't know, Steve, you're a Jew. So I don't know in your circles if you have this, but I have friends that are Jew that tell me they're scared. And for the first time in their life, they're scared as Jews in America. But these. By the way, thanks for the call. Steve, what's really weird about these last two terrorists, this guy in Boulder and the guy in D.C. 2 weeks ago, both of them lived and wanted to get caught. They got the guy in Boulder right away, and the guy in D.C. stayed there and waited for the police. I was in shock. All right, let's take some more calls. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, good morning. This is Vivi from Central Florida. Yes, about the lady that was mentioning about helping the people over there in Gaza. Apparently the mainstream media gives half truths and they omit a lot.
That wasn't a lady. That was Jay from Jersey. It was a man. But the dude sounds like but the dude sounds like a lady to you. But no, that was Jay from Jersey.
So what happens is they give half truth. So apparently, because let's not forget that Bibi is the one that told them for them to leave, right? The people from Gaza, they did not leave because Hamas told them not to leave. So when President Trump gave all this food over there to Gaza, they were chanting President Trump, he's the man, and everything like that. But they were talking about that Hamas didn't want them to accept the food. Hamas is the one that's prolonging.
Well, what happened, to give just a little more specific, over the weekend, President Trump had dropped off humanitarian aid in Gaza. Hamas moved in and tried to stop the people of Gaza from getting to it. They weren't successful.
Right.
And then they call them Gazians. They were chanting Trump, 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 and they talked to the media, and they were in shock that it was free. Hamas has been charging them for the humanitarian relief. They've been selling it to the people, not giving it to them like Trump did. And what Trump's doing, Trump's whole strategy in the Middle East is much different that's been tried before. Nothing that's been done before is worked. They're still killing people over there, right? So he's trying to win over the hearts and minds, and hopefully it works, so we don't have to drop bombs on Iran, but
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of this stuff stems from Hamas, the influence of Hamas on the people of Gaza.
I would not be surprised if this attack in Boulder was because the Gazians were praising Trump, so they're trying to divide people, and
that's a big possibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
very big.
Would be surprised. All right, appreciate them.
They all work together.
Appreciate the call. All right,
okay,
you take care.
So much.
Take care. Steve, on Saturday I got together with some friends for a birthday party, And I had something for the first time in a long time. I had a non-alcoholic beer. And it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that old Duels. It wasn't that old Duels you drink. It was something else. It was so. I'm gonna get the name because I enjoyed this non-alcoholic beer better than a regular beer. You know, and
it's great.
oh man,
Get used to it very quick.
when I got there, I said, "You got any beer?" And they said, "Yeah, we got Bud Light." I said, "No Bud Light." They were kidding. I said, you know, but that's a big joke in conservative circles. Yeah, I got Bud Light. But anyway, these were friends I hadn't seen for a while, and they were complimenting how much weight I lost. And, you know, they hadn't seen me in a while, and they're like, wow, you really have lost a lot of weight. And I said, absolutely. And I got together with my mom over the weekend, and she says, wow, Brian, you really, you really thinned out. Coastal Weight Loss Secret. And you know what the most common thing people ask me about Coastal Weight Loss Secret, Steve? Everybody asks me this. What's the secret? And I tell them, I said, well, you got to call and meet with Dr. Zuckerman, and he'll tell you the secret. But it works. And, you know, Steve, I've lost so much weight. I weighed myself last week, and I'm at the weight I was when I got married. And my 29th wedding anniversary is in December. It's amazing. It really, truly is amazing. And I didn't think it was possible. And remember, I have not done any exercise other than running my mouth. I do that a lot. But I've done zero exercise. I'm eating foods I would normally eat. You know what? Last night for dinner, I had meatloaf, okay? Just to let you know, I love meatloaf with gravy, meatloaf and gravy. And I'm not taking any prescription medications like Ozempic or anything. And it works. Now, no matter where you're located in the United States, Coastal Weight Loss Secret can help. And we've had listeners call from all over America and are now on the program. It works. And you know, another thing too, I'm not hungry. And how many times did you guys, before I started with Coastal Weight Loss Secret, I was always saying, oh man, I'm starving. I got to get off. I'm so hungry. Did you hear the mic pick up my stomach growling? You don't hear that anymore because I'm not hungry. So give them a call, 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300, and online, coastalweightloss.secret.com. All right, we're out of time for today. We'll be back tomorrow at 6 a.m. It's the Steve Kane Show. Steve Kane's here. I'm Brian Craig. God bless Donald Trump. See you 6 a.m. tomorrow. All right. Hey, guys. Listen, thanks for joining us. I have to run because I got to do some things here after the show. But if you're new to the program, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. And if you're already subscribed, please like the video and share on your socials if you don't mind. All right? Thanks so much, everyone. I'm